I agree. I think David passed us some very human dialogue that's very realistic in its progression. And so there's enough there, speaking in terms of Pat, for me to have fun with and to open up a little bit of a blind side on his part that he obviously doesn't track, that his partner's going through something serious enough to lead to these decisions. So he's a little inequipped, even though, you know, it's like you got to try to have enough there that you want the characters to work out, like you want to feel them loving each other, but you also understand that if they're not going to talk about it, you know, that it's going to lead, you know, where it's going to lead.
Per, can you tell us a little bit about the journey of this story from the Texas Monthly articles and the book to now, of course, the screen as we're seeing it today?
You know, David and Nicole and I were all sent the article, and we made Big Little Lies, and we're really looking for something else to do together, and then we thought that Leslie was...
I was also sent the articles.
we teamed up.
Shh. Yeah. And I've been wanting to work with this guy here and this guy here for a very long time.
And me too, since I was a very little boy, I've so admired you.
I was so small. It was actually in utero that it all began.
Can you tell us a little bit about the actual process of adapting this story and what you decided needed to be seen and what perhaps you could sort of tweak and play with?
Well, the process, it's, as you watch the 6 or 7 hours, it's 3 series in one, and you just saw the first installment. We are inviting the audience into this warm world, almost welcoming them. It's a church-going community. I was struck with that when I read the material, that this is a family and a place that I felt I knew and had been to. I grew up in small towns, so the process was about mining that town. It then completely changed when the pathology of the characters went in the directions they went. So it becomes very severe. The process becomes very difficult when we get into the difficult material. So it definitely was a journey, one that you and the actors had to take far deeper than I did, fortunately, because when it turns dark, I got to be home in my office. You had to be on the stage inhabiting.
But you wrote it. So yeah, it was to be honest to the story and characters and have empathy for all of them, the humanity. And again, there is a horrible true crime, as you mentioned, at the core of this, but we didn't want it to be just a true crime drama. It's really, you know, things are not what they appear to be. You have to go deeper to see what's really going on. And we don't let candy off the hook, but I think we really try to look at more that how and why rather than the what. You know, how could this happen?
Yeah, that leads me really perfectly into my next question, which I'm going to kind of open up to the panel as a whole, which is, you know, this story at face value is of course about an affair, but it's really about the ways in which reality sort of, you know, boredom, loneliness, creeps up on our expectations. And we see that mainly through Candy, but really through all the characters. I'm curious about how you sort of got to the meat of that and made that very clear, you know, getting past sort of the salaciousness, or at least the premise of the salaciousness of the affair.
I guess back to what Lily mentioned, you just trust the writing to tell the story, and you just do the moment to moment and try and ground these characters in their realities. But maybe someone else has a more exciting answer than I do.
I remember when you were Jesse and Lizzie and I sat down to talk through each of the beats of the affair and what thematically changed or was going on in each of those scenes. Because it felt to me, yes, they had an affair, but they just wanted to be seen and heard. They had lunch together, they had conversations. So it was a combo of that. So we kind of named the different sequences, you know, and that was an amazing process for me to go through with both Lizzie and Jesse.
You know, you said something this morning during an interview. You said, well,
Was it smart?
It was great.
It was quite smart. We better write
Every
that
single
down.
one of them, you knocked them out of the park.
Okay.
You said we don't play the ending, we play the moment, right? And it's the same. Yeah, see? Awesome. It's the same for the characters. You know, you talk about boredom or whatever. The premise of the life they're supposed to be living is the sort of end. You know, it's like a box to tick, but if you're not working on what's going on when you're bored, then you end up where we end up. So that's what I've been thinking about today.
Yes, that's great.
And kind of just this idea that seems prevalent with all these characters is that there is no hiding from what is true in yourself, you know? And so kind of seeing all of that rise up in each of the characters, I think is interesting to watch.
Absolutely. My last question is, since we got to see the premiere this morning, I want to ask the two of you about the ending, that very last scene, and sort of why you chose to flash forward to the violence after this, you know, this motel scene where there's this immense joy and this sort of excitement that we finally, you know, it finally happens. But then we flash forward, of course, to the violence that we know is coming. Tell me a little bit about that decision.
I mean, there is a dark side to this story, and I think we wanted to make that clear that was there underneath the surface. But it's way under there for a couple of hours. Yeah. Do you have a...
Nothing. No, we do immerse ourselves in the town for 2 or 3 hours, and we, as storytellers, wanted to let the audience know this is going someplace, so pay attention. These tiny little moments in the aggregate are going to add up to something. So the goal with any first episode is to get people to tune into the second one. And tuning into the second one and the third one, cultivating an investment in the story and the characters that you didn't see coming. And we were fortunate enough to have this kind of a cast so we could tell those layers. But at the end of episode 1, yeah, we let the audience know this is not all fun and cupcakes and red hot lovers. This is going to a different place.
Well, everyone, please give it up for the cast of characters.